And everybody, welcome once again to When the Ancients Speak. This is Mike and Victoria, and sometimes because of where we live, the solitude, the things that go on, we have these moments of just, it's really quiet out here up in the mountains. It's peaceful, and you can hear yourself think. And this is essential, that you have a time of peace every day in your life where you directly commune with Father. And a lot of people have been asking questions. Well, what do I do? Do I just incessantly pray, repeat prayers? No. Father has a couple of different states that work for him that I've come to understand. And it's taken me a lot of years and a lot of quiet to achieve it. But I find for me, the mornings and the evenings are among some of the best times for reflection. And I'll often go into a meditative state. It's taken me literally years to get to a point to where the kind of meditative state can happen very quickly. And I find that the best time to talk to Father is after you've meditated for a bit, where you've just closed your eyes and you don't try to force a bunch of conversation. What you're just trying to do is achieve an awareness and a connectivity with Father. And that connectivity will then provide you with the guidance that you need. So it's not like you just want to always, because I'll actually pray to Father, but I talk to Father. It's not like Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come. Father's that's like talking to a kindergartner who is having a temper tantrum with their fingers in their ears, not wanting to listen to you, going over and over again, right? Like someone might stick their fingers in their ears and go la 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 la, so they don't have to hear you. That's kind of the way Father looks at repetitive prayers. They serve no purpose. They don't benefit anyone. They're essentially a form of brainwashing, and you're brainwashing yourself into believing that the reciting of these prayers has any benefit or any connection to Father. It doesn't. What it does allow you to do is connect to that mental framework, and by repeating it, you're creating this construct around you that gets stronger and stronger as you repeat it. So when you're repeating prayers, you're actually isolating yourself more and more from the direct connection to Father. Because what Father wants you to do is think about the Creator, think about Him. After you've meditated, and your purpose is not to think about anything. People think in your meditation you have to think about something. And there are meditations and guided meditations like that are good and can help you open up your third eye. But once you've cracked your third eye, all you have to do is try to connect with Father. Just open yourself a bit and say, I want to connect to Father. I'm trying to connect to Great Father. I'm trying to connect to Grandfather. Whoever you refer to him, but also in the construct of your family. Because when you start saying Father or Grandfather, it has a significance to you of being that kind of being. So a relationship establishes between you and Father, and it just starts out. And it's very interesting, because you would think the Creator of all, once you connect to Him, you'd hear this booming voice, and you would know every time Father talked to you. Father's very, very subtle. He starts out, you're starting out from darkness, and you're working your way towards the light. So things are getting lighter and lighter and lighter, and you're getting brighter and brighter and brighter. And as you do that, there is this presence that you can feel inside of you. And I'm not talking about one that wants you to do dark and evil things. I'm talking about all of a sudden you're aware of Father's eyes on you. There is a universal justice, as they say, and the eyes of truth are always upon you, but more so when you invoke Father's awareness. And the amazing thing about it is once you're connected to Father, He's always there. You can feel Him. You can feel Him watching you. You can feel Him hoping for you. You can feel Him giving you little bits of information. And then as you open up the Father and ask for knowledge and wisdom, all of a sudden these things begin to flow into you, so that you have this new understanding. And it's kind of like channeling. And I wanted to let people know about this because this is something that a lot of people struggle with. They say, I can't feel Father in my life. I can't feel the connection. But I'm here to tell you that the connection is real and that Father is there. And he's beautiful when you touch him. It's not like this overpowering, masculine, divine being that wants to, destroy all the beings that oppose him. It is this gentle and ever-growing presence in your heart and your mind that is so overwhelmingly beautiful and so overwhelmingly powerful that as you look into it, you immediately gain respect. Your eyes, your heart opens up, your mind, and all of a sudden you have this amazing respect for Father that maybe you never experienced before. And as your respect grows for Father, Father begins to open up the floodgates of information. And all of a sudden, you begin to feel a little better. You begin to think clearer. The lies around you sort of just roll off of you like water to a duck. And then you can get past all the noise and craziness of this evil world, which has inverted everything we know and lied to us about everything. When we find out, when all of us collectively, as a society, as the human race discovers the real truths of the universe, they're absolutely going to be mind-shattering. Because everything we've been told about what the universe is, how it functions, are all essentially mechanical lies which are designed to keep you in this low-level frequency box so that you cannot connect with Father and have those divine moments. That's the reason why there's an overlay on this planet. That, and also to prevent us from contaminating fluidic space, which exists beyond exactly where we are. We are in different dimensional layers of not only what you would call traditional space, but the universe is not what we're told. We have been told it's this vast expanse that continues on and on and on and on. And partially that's true, but what I have learned from connecting with Father is that we are all part of the universe itself, and we are one or possibly another expression of what Father and other beings are doing to identify and create more and more of this so that we can continue to replicate. And that Father wants infinite number of worlds within this confine of this creation so that we can experience virtually any kind of existence that we want to have. And all of that was taken from us because of our reptilian overlords and the other dark beings, some of which are referred to as Satan, which is actually a group of beings that organize and control everything around us. Today, when I came out of my meditation, the first thing I noticed is that Father connected with me a little bit stronger than normal. And it's like the more you walk with Father, the longer you walk with Father, the more and more you begin to realize that it is He that is talking to you, if you want to use a pronoun. I don't think Father can be defined in a single way like that, but He has millions upon millions, billions probably, of different avatars that are a projection of Him. And those avatars are the beings that you interact with and or the angelic powers. But Father wanted everyone to know that the main purpose for everything that's going on here is to help all of us evolve from this planet to graduate. Because I was sort of joking this morning with Father. I said, boy, it's really amazing when you think of all of the divine things that we have not experienced, including Father's divine justice, Father's divine gifts. All of these things have been kept from us. We're like kids that have never experienced a Christmas, okay? And I use that analogy because it's pretty much worldwide. We are children that have been locked away because other beings have locked away our children, and we are a projection of the reality of whatever these beings have been creating, using our own collective consciousness against us, making us all come together whether we like it or not for totally terrible demonic things, celebrating, for example, when these transgenders are reading stories to young children and exposing themselves and doing just anything to deflate morality under the guise of trying to bring us all together under love and goodness. But the reality is, we know they're coming for the kids. They've always wanted the children because they're the purest essence. And when they can affect and steal that innocence, it gives them this super robust, powerful, dark energy charge that keeps them going for many, many days. Nothing is better than corrupting and destroying the childlike innocence and wonder. And Victoria the other day was putting up different videos of just children, young kids, laughing, giggling, learning how to pour drinks and beverages without spilling it everywhere, and just how the whole world is this beautiful thing to children. Everything is new, and you get to see that through the eyes of children. But the one thing that Father said is, I just wish they wouldn't have tampered with the genetics, because Father created such a beautiful world. And they, of course, are doing the opposite. They want to mock God. They want to mock Father. They attack him through genetic manipulation because of the abominations that they create. And many of these will be walking the earth very soon.
And I just wanted to add something to that too, is while you were speaking, and I know Father asked you to say these things, something happened while you were speaking, and I was putting up that picture on the cutting room floor of that pig-cow-human hybrid. I now know something that a lot of humans didn't know about themselves, is that you can have up to 12 different strands of DNA in your body. And the 13th strand is your connection to Father. That is your genetic connection to Father. That's why the 13 strands was so important, is because they tried to cut out your 13th strand so that you would never communicate with the divine, with the Father. And so once you awaken that 13th strand, and this has just come to me right now, you can talk to Father too, but you must awaken that strand.
And remember, we only currently have 2 strands of DNA that we know of, but as these are the primal strands that are essentially the zip file that Father has given us, so that if there's ever a problem, we can re-unpack and rewrite the current program with the 2 original strands of DNA that we have right now, half of which is considered to be the evolution of evil. The other half is to be the evolution of good. And you can see this in the Medicus staff, which essentially shows these 2 serpents wrapped around this healing staff that supposedly any professional healer, any healer could actually be part of. But I have come to learn that in the multiverse, Father has angelic powers that serve him that are warrior healers, if you can imagine or envision that, because I know that I have been informed, and like others that will, as the 2 strands of DNA unzip and unpack and actually touch the energetics of other strands that will come into being, there will be sections of your primary DNA that will be slightly overwritten by the new strands that will appear and begin to appear in humanity. And they're trying to tell us this. And I can give you an example. In the transformation and in the storyline of Ultraman, which was this sort of cheesy Godzilla-like monster movie, and I bring this up for a very important reason, a couple of reasons. In the Ultraman series, when the person possessing the beta capsule or the device that could transform them and bind them with another alien being is triggered, there's this transform that takes place, and part of the transform that is shown is an additional strand of DNA being added to the current existing strands. And you're starting to see this in our entertainment, because they're trying to bring this out so that people get this, that we have the 2 original strands of DNA that are like a zip file.
Yes.
And that depending on the kind of downloads that we receive from Father, you see, this was supposed to keep all of our software in our head updated, but we are running on outdated software by leaps and bounds. So Father's coming in and he's rewriting this and unpacking your DNA slowly. Now, it's not going to be noticeable right away, but what happens is that your DNA becomes energized and some of the unpacked DNA begins to actuate, which will allow you to actually become whatever you were supposed to become over time.
And that's why I'm telling you, some of you are experiencing eye color changes, or you're experiencing skin changes.
You're having issues with your health, which, by the way, will be corrected.
So depending on what species inside of your 2 strands of DNA was originally gifted to you. Now you have to understand something, that people say that's not possible. But while I was just explaining this whole 13th strand to you, I was crying because it was so strong. The information was so strong, I knew it to be totally true. The 12 strands that you have could be Lyran, could be oceanic, could be gray, could be any kind of species that could go up to these 12 strands, including your human DNA. So you can carry around, this is what I'm saying to you guys, my body's changing. I've got these blue bulbs that are growing out of my wrists. My eyes have gone almost yellow in color. People are changing because the DNA that is originally gifted to them is opening up. It's being unzipped inside your body. So there's a lot of emotional upheavals that go with that. So be careful who you tell people that you're changing to. Because like in the X-Men movies, most people will never understand that, and they'll call you all kinds of names. Mutant, demon, all that, because of their ignorance.
Well, the same thing would happen to them if they would open their minds, but since most people are caught in the matrix, they can't. And while those of us who are open to Father and try to connect with Him are about ready to experience unbelievable things, each of us have unique gifts that can be unlocked, and some of us have been able to tap into that since the beginning because we're starseeds. We came here with the purpose of helping all of you, and that's what we wanted to continue to do. And that also should be the mission of many other starseeds. But Father wanted you to all know that the sky is the limit. He wants you to decide. You can actually begin to alter your own DNA because it will do what you tell it to do. DNA is this amazing series of essentially building blocks that can be rearranged into just about anything. And Father wanted it as such so that you, the organism as a human, could then direct yourself to become almost anything. Because humans are now the basis upon which many other transformative genetics are going to be practiced and currently are being practiced. This is part of the reason why they create these chimeras, is because they're trying to find the God gene. That's what they call it. And they feel that they can manipulate it and do, the 13th strain. They feel that once they discover the God gene, they'll be able to do anything they want just like Father. But the fact of the matter is that certain knowledge will always be preserved just for Father.
Yeah, and Father did not hand out all of his genetic knowledge to everybody throughout the universe.
Nope.
When he gave other beings permission, like the Anunnaki, to create new species, it was done with his guidance right behind. They did not do anything without his knowledge. And that was the difference, because Father actually enhanced that. He watched over those things. But these beings on our planet have never had Father's permission, and that's why they are so jealous, because they know that the experimentations had to have divine intervention. They had to have permission, and they never got that. So because they're not soul beings, most of them are soulless, they have no qualms about taking your soul and turning it into something hideous. And that's the way they operate. And this is all done through their jealousy.
And part of the reason why they need to steal some or all of your soul energy, if they can, is that we are like the battery that can be recharged over and over.
Yeah.
but they can suck us dry and then put that energy in one of their spirit batteries that will run for a certain period of time on that energy before it's depleted. And then the soul itself can go back and recharge, and they can do the same thing to you again. So what they're doing is they're stealing your ability, your creative ability, and then they use it to create these kind of things. In other words, they empower themselves, and then they try to empower their dark creations because they're using soul energy from creator gods. That's what gives it its driving essence. But then these beings become dark evil beings, and they have to feed upon good beings in order to continue their lifespan, very much like a vampire.
Yeah.
But most of it is psychic energy they feed off. Some of it is actual blood and flesh, because that's part of it, and then you get the specialized products like adrenochrome that are extracted from people, and basically it is destroying who they are and allows them to drain on innocence and consume it in that sense.
So when you hear people or religious leaders, gurus, new age teachers, whatever you like, telling you that you must remain calm, there is a part of your DNA in one of those other 12 strands that may never have been a calm being. And so you use that anger to drive you into opening up another form of DNA to help control that. Do you understand that you are both light and dark? So some of those strains are not all pure light essence, because the Creator doesn't work that way. There must be a division of equal, a balance of dark and light, because that's how the universe operates. Right now, the order is out of balance, but that is going to be rectified. So there are some of your DNA strains that are being activated that may not all be peachy keen, light lord sort of thing.
Yes, because justice in and of itself is considered evil. Think about it. We are currently right now in our tribunals across the world arresting dark beings and executing them. Killing, the taking of the life of another being, is considered to be an evil act, except when in self-defense. Well, our society is now in self-defense. So we can do what is in essence evil, but we label it justice. And it is justice, and it is right, and Father's correct. But I'm saying that that is sometimes the evil aspect of good.
Yes.
Where we have the ability to enforce laws that all beings have agreed to.
And you must understand that what's happening to children, that dark side of humanity, people say, oh no, you can't get involved in that when they start, rioting and stuff. And I'm not talking about Antifa. I'm talking about human beings standing up against this tyranny, because they have taught you not to do those things. But you must understand that strain of DNA in you that may have once been a darker entity says you must fight back, because children are being involved. So if you see a picture of a lion roaring at somebody and saying, I'm going to do what lions do, and that is, what do lions do?
They feed.
They hunt and feed. And that doesn't mean that they're a bad being. It means that if that being inside of you says, I have to defend these children for what's happening to them,
then we become the hunters.
Yes.
We go from hunted to hunters. Isn't that what Q said?
Yes.
The hunters will be hunted.
So you must understand that there is a natural thing that's happening. And part of what is going on is that Father is waking up both the good and the bad in you to get you to see who you really are. He just didn't give you 12 strands of, 3 of Palladian and 4 of this. No, you got 1 strand of Lyran, or you got 1 strand of Oceanic, or you got 1 strand of Gray. You got all kinds of species, and you are the keeper of your DNA. This is why I always go on about it. Protect your DNA. Don't give your blood away, because they're looking to see what species are inside of you.
Right.
Do you guys understand that?
Then you become part of the grand shopping list.
Yes.
When a certain mixture of certain elements are needed and you happen to fit the bill,
Yes.
that's the reason why they allow billions of us to reproduce. And they want us to reproduce, even though right now they've given up and just basically kill everyone. They want to create that super.
Yeah.
organized genetic soup that they can pick what they need from it.
Exactly, and every now and then, just like your own genetics, you may have a sixth generation lineage of white folk in your family, but your great grandmother may have had a husband who wasn't, who came from a darker area of the continent, and so then this baby's born and there's a black baby born, and people say she must have been messing around, but not necessarily. If in your genetics that lineage was there. Well, it's the same with your alien DNA.
Right, and it can surface through
Yes.
never because of the breakdown of all the suppression events, because all that's coming to me. Because Father wants us to evolve quickly. And we're on kind of, all of us on this planet now, for many years we have been left here locked up, reincarnating over and over again, and being used for all that time. So guess what? We are now the most qualified beings to exist in the universe that understand pain, suffering, sacrifice, and all of the other aspects that we've been forced to go through. Think about how valuable we are now about to become to Father and his heavenly kingdom, which exists, yes, in the heavens, people.
Yes.
Okay, we keep trying to tell you the stars that you see are
Divine
also
cities.
beings. There's divine cities out there. There's so many aspects of Father's world that we need to become part of, and we're like, man, there is a worker shortage right now across the universe of good beings and beings that understand suffering. We are going to be put probably to immediate use, I would imagine, at some point. Once this world is unlocked and we've gone through the changes, many of us that are starseeds will either leave this reality and move on to the next reality that we're supposed to be in. And I believe the starseeds will be able to do that at will pretty soon, because all the restrictions are being lifted from the planets. So if it's time for you to move on, you'll just move on.
And so, this is why sometimes you'll notice within yourself that after we've had like a CME lately, when the sun's popping off, you may feel extremely tired. Well, that's because your DNA is being awakened, and those other strands inside of you are being awakened. And I just realized yesterday I was having one of those days where I needed to sleep, and it went on for just all afternoon. I went to bed early. It's because once your DNA is starting to be in awakened state, and every time we have one of those pulsing sun CMEs, we know that the sun is connected to the Creator. Suns belong to the Creator.
Right, and they're kind of pushing that energy to get through the overlay that is basically disintegrating.
Yes.
But there's more than one overlay. We've got the overlays of different types of lenses and different types of things to make us see and perceive the universe in a way that they tell us is. But I'm here to tell you that the universe is more complex than just this huge expanse with nothing in it except for, stars. And the reality is there are areas of the universe that are living organisms that are bigger than anything you've ever could even conceivably imagine. There's different dimensional aspects to the multiverse, and most of the travel is going to be to other clusters of sentient living things. It's almost like you're a microscopic being floating around in this gigantic body.
Yeah.
And you're going to see more of that with the revelation of the giants and that make up this planet. And we've shown you images. It's funny because, we're starting to run into other people that are talking about this.
Yes.
Well, Victoria and I have been talking about this for years, that you can see impressions all over the earth of things that used to exist here. You literally are standing on the former bodies of gigantic beings, because, as we mentioned to you before, many of these beings can manifest as planets. They can manifest as gigantic beings that can walk across this planet. They're gods, for goodness sake. Father did create the gods. All the planets are named after gods. Why do you think that is? Because they were all existing and real beings.
And they didn't just exist here on Earth, and the gods didn't just come to Earth. They've been to other planets throughout the multiverse, and they have instructed, and they've lived there, and And so they had done so much for in different areas that eventually they were given their own planet. And some of them, what they do is they take the essence of themselves and put some of that in the planet. Therefore, we have Gaia, who is in
essentially
essence
another gigantic being.
Yes. And Aya was telling me the other day that she was a giant and she was beautiful.
And she sat upon a throne on this planet at one time.
Yes.
And the giants tended her.
Yes.
And many of them, some of them were gods, because remember, the gods could create avatars. Yeah. Kind of like you playing a game online. You know, you're not actually there, but the avatar could be here. So that's why there were giants that were miles high, okay, that actually came and touched down on this planet and would do obeisance to not only Father, but Father's creation, which would be Gaia at that time,
yes.
who was worshipped as this, almost like this elvish queen kind of character. And we tell this to people and they think we're insane, but then we show them the giants, and you're going to see more of this coming out because the revelations are here. And people, there are images, there's no question that one of these giants was Poseidon. He has basically in his hand at one time, he held the trident, and you can see from the outline and the ground where this gigantic being, probably at least 50 miles tall. I mean, the atmosphere is nothing to a divine being. They can walk around and do things. They can manifest as big or small, a single being, multiple beings. Yeah, you got to kind of wrap your head around these things, because baby, all this information is coming out.
And something that a lot of you may not understand is that I've spoken to beings that are billions of years old, right? And when they get to this age, they're not anything like you would expect them to be. They seem to be, some of them are like lack of emotion, and they're just there for a purpose, and that's all they do. But they work for Father. Don't get me wrong, they work directly for Father, like some of the judges. Some of the really ancient ones are billions of years old.
And remember, they were given these jobs by Father, if that's what you want to call it, divine callings. Many of them serve the divine calling, but have awarenesses so powerful that they can divide into multiple beings, and then these multiple beings can go across the multiverse and have new experiences and live as autonomous beings that are an extension of Father. And we know that Father has all kinds of avatars.
He does.
He
has all kinds of avatars.
Some that are also, and by dividing himself into avatars, they become less powerful, but still divine, if you know what I'm meaning, so that they can experience a more fulfilling life, so that they will understand the concept of whatever life that was and take that information back to Father someday.
He also has avatars that are children.
Yep.
And, you know, that's hard for a lot of people to believe, but you see why Father does that is because he doesn't want you to just think that he knows everything all the time, which he does, but he wants to learn things too. And so he will actually put himself in a state where he doesn't understand other things. And I know it sounds weird, but this is the way Father is. And he can project himself as a little girl or a little boy. And sometimes he does that just so he can understand childlike behavior and innocence.
And like in the movie The Matrix, where the Smith agents could appear inside of any other person hardwired.
Yes.
Father also can project himself into you at times to see what's going on.
Yeah.
So we are all capable of channeling Father.
Yeah.
And the stronger our connection, the more likely Father will come at some point. He will come to visit you at some point.
So that 13th strand, you now know what it is. It's your direct DNA connection to Father. And this is what they've been trying to destroy out of you, and why they needed their own inverted, distorted 13. Okay? You have to understand, for everything that Father does, you have those 12 strands inside your body plus one. And that is the 13th strand, your direct connection to Father. And you have to learn to unlock that, because until you unlock that, you'll never really understand if you're talking to him or not.
Right, because that 13th strand only exists in our current unzipped version of our
Yes.
DNA that is our main projective self of who we are. But once you begin to believe and connect with Father, he'll reach into that like a master programmer and begin to touch areas of your DNA and unlock them so you begin to experience life not only in a way that you want, but in a way that Father wants simultaneously. And he gets to learn from your experience in a unique way through your eyes, which Father cannot replicate. He must go through the experience. That's why Father's really big on experiences, that you have to go through it and see what it's like, because only then can you be in a position that you can rule over other beings, because you know exactly what it was like to have gone through. So whatever your experience that you're accruing, and if you look back on your life and your life's history, there is a pattern, and you need to look at that pattern and understand what's going on, and understand why these things are put in your way, and understand why you need to know these things, because that's the whole purpose of the soul image, by the way, which was to point people in the right direction, to kind of click so that they would instantly jive with Father, or at least have an understanding of what was expected from them, because their life has been lived in a certain way.
Yeah. So, guys, thank you very much for listening. This went on a little longer.
Yeah, hey, this is Stephen A. Jones, just for a quick pop-in. I didn't get a chance to really say much in this one, but for those of you that enjoy this information, this is the kind of stuff that is discussed on the cutting room floor. We used to do a lot of stuff in Discord. I think we're going to switch that back over to the radio station once Nassara and Jasara starts, because then we'll be able to do whatever we want in that sense. So, but you really need to check out the cutting room floor. Victoria has transformed this from just a place where you just have a few MP3s to listen to almost daily information on not only what we're talking about, because you'll be able to find the MP3, all the extra MP3s for each month that we do, but we get into some really amazing information, and there are things on even just this month alone that will completely blow your mind and point you in the right direction, so you know exactly what's going on this planet and exactly how you can benefit the most from it. So that's why this information is put up there. It's put up there to help you. And as always, we would insist that you stop by whentheancientspeak.com. And we also have a donate button. Yeah, I'm not going to beat that like a dead horse today, but I'm just going to say it's there. And if you use it, you're helping this kind of information to not only reach out and educate many other people, but you yourself can see that there are ways that you can learn from all this information to not only know what the hell is really going on, but how it can benefit you in everyday life, because you can avoid little things like, a lethal virus or vaccine, or other terrible, horrible things that they're pushing on you, like realizing that McDonald's has been adding human meat, human remains to their food for probably the last 15 years, mostly in the last 4 to 6 years. Because they're taking cadavers and bodies and grinding them up and mixing it into the meat and everything else. It's absolutely true. And if you doubt us, we've got connections to things that explain this. So, that's the kind of information you need to know. Like, they're putting fetal cells in different types of beverages, especially the Pepsi products at one point. And there is, what did you call that stuff?
It's HEK
293. HEK 293. Look that little tidbit up. And next time you're sipping down on a nice ice cold Pepsi,
don't use Google, because they'll never tell you the truth. You have to go to
DuckDuckGo.
DuckDuckGo.
I know it sounds ridiculous, but we've all been learning that particular search engine. Fuck Google until they go down. But anyhow, everybody, thank you very much, and we'll talk to you later. Blessings, love, and light, and kisses, and